What's up, everybody? Justin Ochoa back with another episode of the Gym Sessions podcast. And as always, today's show is sponsored by Hoist. Hoist is an IV level hydration beverage. It comes in 6 amazing flavors, has less sugar and more electrolytes than any sports drink that I'm aware of on the market. And they are just amazing people. I cannot thank them enough for their support of the show. If you want to learn more about Hoist, you can head to drinkhoist.com. If you like what you see, use my promo code PACE, that's PACE, for 10% off of your order. Now, I'm super excited to jump in today's show. We have a performance trainer on from the Baltimore area named Jess Racz, and she's an amazing friend, a great follow on Instagram, and just an all-around great human. I love connecting with her. I love talking shop with her, and she joins us today to share her unique perspective on being a woman in the male-dominated performance industry. We talk training, we talk gym ownership, we talk all the challenges that she's had to overcome, and she's just an awesome person. I think you guys are going to love this interview. I know that I learned a lot from her, and I continue to learn a lot from her over the years as we've been following each other and networking. So I appreciate you guys listening to the show. Dive in. This is episode 6 with Jess Racz. What's up, Jess? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited and humbled to be able to talk some shop and get into it.
No, I'm excited. I can't believe this is our second go around. The people didn't have to know about the first one, but I figured we'd let them in on the secret that we had some technical difficulties the first time around. But
sometimes it doesn't always go how we want it to, and that's a life lesson too.
Fact.
So got to be able to adapt. So I'm excited to be back on.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to introduce the listeners to you and talk training with you. So before we get started, let's talk a little bit about your background. Kind of tell us who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff.
Yep. So my name is Jess Racz. I'm a basketball performance specialist. I've worked with as high as NBA, WNBA, all the way down to the youth level. I've worked with every single population before I actually got into the population that I'm working with now. I worked with as young as like less than 10-year-olds, kids that were just running around, didn't listen to me, like that kind of stuff. Yep. Paid my dues with that. I've worked with like the soccer moms within. I did a lot of CrossFit coaching. I've worked with, 70 plus and older, like senior citizens, I guess. So I've worked with literally everyone, and I've done every single, I guess, bucket within performance training or just training or the fitness industry. I've tried internships at the collegiate level. I've done some high school coaching. I've done athletic training. I've done physical therapy, and I have tried everything. And I think I started so early. Like I was doing this when I was in college, and I started putting myself out there and seeing, okay, to figure out what I want to do, I got to figure out what I don't want to do. So I don't have any what ifs. And so that's the approach. Like people, when they ask me, I'm 26 years old. I've had my business for about 3 years officially. And so when people ask me, man, how are you so young training these athletes? First, I don't feel young. I feel like I'm like 45 plus. So it's like the patience aspect, but I think it's because I didn't wait until I graduated. I started making, connections and putting myself out there and stepping outside of my comfort zone. Like when I was 18, mopping floors at a CrossFit gym to try to get a free membership, ended up, it went, up from there. So there's a lot in between of, and a lot of ups and downs. Like it wasn't just a smooth ride, but if you look at it, I started at 18 and now I'm at 26. I mean, that's an 8-year journey so far. And I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. So I work with a lot of basketball athletes, like I said, but I also work with, recently I've gotten a lot of volleyball athletes. I've gotten a lot of lacrosse athletes. So I would say those are the main. At first, I was just working with a lot of females as a female trainer. But now I've had a few guys in the past couple months just really bet on me and trust me. And now I actually work with a lot more males than I do females. So we can get into that specific of how I've been able to do that as just a woman in this field. But that's a little bit about me. And yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, we're going to hit on that for sure. Before we get into that, I know you're going through some changes with your gym. You've got some exciting stuff in the works. And honestly, like I didn't realize that you were only 26. Like not based on how you look, because you definitely look young, but based
Yeah.
on like, your knowledge and how you go about your profession, things like that. I think that's really cool that you started at 18, because I mean, at 18, like I had no idea what I wanted to do. And at 18, I was probably like one of the top 5 pieces of shit in the world. So it's like for you to be so focused and just like driven at that age, like I really love that and respect that. And that is something that, I think a lot of people don't have, which is fine. You're not supposed to know what you're going to do at 18, but the people that do, like I love running into people like you, Coleman Ayers from By Any Means Basketball. He's been training since he was like 16. And so it's like people give themselves a head start in their career. And even if you don't end up choosing that career that you thought you were going to at 18, the professional approach that you have is going to span across whatever industry you're in. So I just want to commend you on that, because that's super dope. I never knew that.
No, thank you. I mean, it wasn't always like I knew I wanted to own my own gym or I own my own business. It was probably the last thing that I wanted to do, because I watched when I was CrossFit coaching, I watched my boss, just like the amount of stress and all the stuff he had to deal with. I was like, I never want to do that. But I realized by trying a bunch of different things that, all right, if I want, these are my goals and this is how I'm going to, reverse engineer it, and this is the path that I'm going to take. It could change, but I was do or die, like do or die D1 basketball. So that's what I wanted to do. And that didn't happen. And then I was do or die athletic training. I wanted to be the ones running out onto the football field, or the one, running out onto the court when someone gets injured. And I was like set on that. And then, I had my opportunity at University of Delaware, and I was like, oh, hell no, like I can't do this. So it's like, I've tried different things, and I guess I always knew I wanted to do fitness, but I didn't know specifically what. And if you think about it, I mean, it took me 5 years to even just decide that, like, all right, I guess I'm going to figure out owning my own gym, owning up my own facility. That's just how, the cards folded for me, after trying a bunch of different things. And honestly, I've just figured it out day by day.
Yeah, I feel that. No, that's definitely part of it. It's like when you start something that is your own, it's like you kind of just have to figure it out as you go. I mean, there's blueprints and you'll have mentors, you'll have some free resources, but I always look at it like, so I have 2 kids, and when I had those kids, or when my wife had those kids, she did all the hard work. I didn't do anything. I read all these books, and you get ready to have a baby, and those books are written on somebody else's experience.
Yes.
And that experience is totally different than what you or my experience may be. So at a certain point, like I wasted 3 months of my life reading books about having a kid. And it turns out like my situation was different. Like my kid didn't like to be swaddled or, patted this certain way that I read in the book. I'm like, damn, like you just got to make it up. Like you just go, you just make it up as you go. So it's like,
same.
Yeah, it's being a parent is the same as, and I've seen it as obviously a gym owner too. It's like, yeah, there's some blueprints, some principles, some things that are like best practices, but the people that wrote it about their experience, and it might not be how yours goes. And so you never know, like you just have to be able to pivot and adapt as you go.
No, context is everything for sure. So it's like we see, the people that we want to be like and think it was a smooth ride to get there. But you ask 10 different trainers, the common theme of like, you got to work your ass off, and you got to, you're not really going to have much of a life if you want to chase your dreams. Like there's going to be a ton of sacrifices. That's the common theme. But the path to get there is way different because context is everything. And then you can look at also as like the athlete that you're seeing in front of you, like the way that I train one athlete is going to be different than I train the other athlete because context is everything. And I've had people argue with me about that. Like, you don't need to know context, like just focus on principles and methods. And it's like, well, if that method and principle doesn't fit within the context of my athlete, physical, mental, and emotional, like it doesn't make sense. So it's the same as everything else. And that's where I think, social media is great. Like I've learned a ton from social media. I've learned a ton from books, things like that. But like, it's really the most that I've learned from and that I pull from is just life experiences
Mm-hmm.
from the athletes that I've trained and all the mistakes that I've made. Like you posted something about like the trap bar deadlift into a box jump,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And like I've seen stuff like that now is getting like not hated on, but we're like, okay, that really doesn't make sense. But like I did that years ago. Like I would
Yeah.
have my athletes do that. So it's like that's why it's so funny. Like everything that is now like I guess deemed like not right or whatever, like I 100% did. Like I've made so many mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of it. That's part of growing, and now I know not to do that. And then you try to use your platform to educate of like, okay, I did this, but it really doesn't make sense to me, but it may make sense to someone else. I don't know.
Facts. No, I've been getting so many DMs about that. Like, I used to do that. I used to do that, and I never did. But I've done like way more stupid stuff than that.
Oh
And
yeah,
I would always reply the same way. I'm like, just step out. Just step out of the step
right.
bar. You can still jump right away. Just step out. But no,
I know.
I've done some stuff like when I was coming up. I was highly influenced by like Joel Seedman and
Mm-hmm.
like not necessarily like doing what he does, and he's a lot different now than he was back then, but
Yeah.
more of like an exercise variation guy. Like how many different ways can you do this one exercise? And then I'm like, okay, if I have 20 variations for one thing, like how do I know what works? Like you gotta
Paralysis by
stick, yeah,
analysis. Yeah.
you gotta stick
Paralysis
with
by
something.
analysis. I
So
know.
yeah, it's crazy how far you come like as a professional just by making mistakes and just even if it's not mistakes, you get good results with something, but you're like, maybe it could be better, and you tweak some
Yeah.
things, you try what different variables may be, and then you get better results. And so it's constant just tinkering with variables and
Oh, for
trying to
sure.
find the
And
right recipe.
those difficult things, the more creative I get, the more confusing it gets for the athlete, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I've learned that. But I have like, for example, I have an eighth grader who is insanely coordinated, but then I have like a college kid who like isn't coordinated at all. So it's like, I can take 5 minutes. I have to take 5 minutes or more to go through this drill. Then
Mm-hmm.
versus my eighth grader, I show her once and she does it. So it's like, all right, I need to adjust. Like the method and the principle is the same, but it doesn't make sense for this athlete right now. So I totally agree with that. But I love all the creative stuff. I get pretty creative too. I like to get creative. That's what, art, this is, I mean, it's art. Like
Yeah.
performance training is an art, basketball is an art. And so it's like I want to create my own artwork, but it
Mm-hmm.
has to be for the right athlete. And they have to build up to that. And that's the conversation that you have with them. Like we'll get to all this stuff that you see on Instagram or whatever, but we may not also do it because I'll tell you why, like X, Y, and Z. But you got to build your athlete up and understand that they got to take the time and they got to invest in this as much as they invest into their basketball skills training or their practices, etc. So yeah,
For sure. So before I do want to ask about the gym, but I got one more thing like
yeah,
that you
go for
reminded
it.
me of. Perfect example with your I think you said college athlete that
Mm-hmm.
can't pick it up as fast, and you have an eighth grader who's super coordinated and just
Right,
gets it, right? So I have this theory because I do just like you, I work with professional and I also work with, somebody who may be touching a basketball for the first time.
right,
So that range is crazy. And I've seen over the years that more often than not, a lot of professionals struggle with simple things like skips, galloping, like anything that requires like coordination, but is not like performance based. So just simple
right.
drills like that. And then if you ask like a seventh grader or something like that to skip, gallop, or prance, or do anything like that that's more playful, they can pick it
Yep.
up right away. So I have this theory. I'm interested on what you think about it, but in my experience, a lot of these pros are freaks at a young age, and you kind of can see that they're different, like by middle school probably. So
Right.
my theory is that the reason why they can't do that as an adult, even though they play at the highest level, is that at some point in their life as a youth athlete, somebody saw that freak in them and said, that kid's special. They're going to help me win games. So I'm going to stop the development process here and just use that athlete to win games because they're better, bigger, stronger, faster, whatever the case may be. So in doing that, yes, they win games. They maybe even get a little better just by competing and stuff like that. But they're almost like destined to be a pro at a certain point. And they still got to put the work in. I'm not saying it's like automatic, but
Right.
during those 5-6 years, they don't get that athletic development that the kid on JV as a sophomore would get because they're still working on simple things like that. So,
Yeah.
like, does that make sense to you, or am I
No,
tripping?
oh my God, I totally agree with you. There's a whole other side to it with just the amount of, when you have such a great athlete, the amount of voices in their ear all the
Yeah,
time. Like that can be a whole separate podcast, because that is
yeah.
something that, as I've worked with higher level athletes, just the amount of voices that they have. So no, I totally agree with you. The development totally stops because basketball is year round and it's way too much volume. So it's like they're doing the same movement patterns
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over again. So their movement bandwidth is very low. So they don't have, and when we look at the best NBA players in the world, like let's just take Steph Curry, for example. Like he's super playful all the time, like
Mm-hmm.
with his warm-ups. And so he's getting that aspect to it. He probably played a bunch of different sports. I saw like over the off season, he was doing like some boxing type stuff. Like he was getting outside the gym. So it's like what we can take from that is, and Kobe too. Kobe did soccer and
Mm-hmm.
tap dancing and all this. Like what we can take from that is like, let's adopt what the best players in the world are doing as well. But I totally agree with you, just because they don't have time for anything else. Sometimes they don't even have time for performance training, but that's why you see a lot of these great athletes that are, destined in middle school. They burn out.
Mm-hmm.
Or they make it, to college, and they ride the bench, or they make it to the NBA and they're only there for 3 years. It's because, of many factors. But oh yeah, 100%, which is just really sad, but it's like there's nothing that we can change about that, unfortunately. The
Right.
the monster is too big for us to be able to change like the AAU schedule, or the amount of practices they have per week. But what we can do is just control what we can control, and that's why I include the coordination and the skip stuff, and things like that. And it's funny that you brought that up, because like it was literally just, it was last weekend. He's a sophomore, and he wants to make varsity. And he's one of those that is like, he could be really, really good, has a lot of potential. So I'm doing a bunch of skip stuff, coordination stuff. And there's a basketball trainer that asked me, oh my God, is he a track athlete or is he a soccer athlete? And I'm like, no, he's a basketball athlete. Like, this is normal. Like, it's
Mm.
not a normal thing for people to see that coordination type stuff. But that's a side note, because I was just like, no, he's a basketball athlete, because people just don't see it.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Long story short, it's pretty sad. But like, what can we do as performance trainers? How can we educate? And then, that's why like I communicate it with my social media, that same theory, in a way that people can understand, that middle schoolers can understand. So like I posted too with like extensive plyometric
Yeah.
warm-ups, and then here's how it can help this specific thing. So we're building a lot of other qualities with the extensive plyometrics, coordination, rhythm, fluidity, reactivity, all that kind of stuff. But hey, it translates to your Euro, it translates to your swing step, it translates to like an inverted drag, like etc. So it's like, that's where you can like blend performance and basketball together, where you're including other stuff, but then they see it, it helps with this, so then they buy into it. And that's what it is. If they don't buy into it, like none of this matters.
For sure. Yeah. So you mentioned mixing performance and skill. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
great segue to talk about kind of some of the moves that you're making with your gym and getting into the new location and having access to a court and a weight room all in one.
For
So
sure.
talk a little bit about some of the changes that you're going through as we come up in the new year.
Yep. So I had my facility. I opened it up during COVID in 2020. Wasn't really able to get into it until July. And then from there, I guess it's coming up on 3 years. I've had my 800 square foot space, no fancy equipment, just grinding out the worst turf in the world. It's already ripping. So I've had that facility that has been my own. And now in order for me to grow, I've kind of outgrown where I'm at right now. And now I need to get closer to the city. So it's like with everything, every new journey, it's like, how can I grow? And how can I get better? And how can I chase my dreams? And there's a bunch of different avenues I could take, but this is the one that makes most sense. So I'm just moving about a half hour closer to the DC area. I'm not owning my own facility anymore. I'm subleasing from a basketball training facility. But you take your pros and cons with it. Every decision that you make, there's great things about it, but there's things that you're going to have to adapt and adjust to. So, but I have the full court. I have about double the size of the weight room. So that's kind of the next step for me in order to make it for me to be in a more convenient location for the athletes that I train. Do I know how it's going to go? Absolutely not. There's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of, it's scary, but, as we said in the beginning, you figure it out. Like I will figure it out. And that's the motto. That's really like the motto of my life is like, no matter what, like I've figured it out for the past 3 years. I've gone through some stuff in the past 3 years that I never thought I would go through, that I hit rock bottom, etc. But I'm still here. I'm still kicking. We'll just see how it goes next. So I already started part-time in that location closer to DC, and come January 1st, I'm there full-time. So I'm excited.
That's going to be dope. Yeah, I'm excited. I've been seeing some of your stuff on the court. I was like, oh, I'd love to see it on the court. That's awesome.
I know. Yep.
Love
Getting
that.
back into it. I miss basketball, but I think it's so important. Like if I'm going to train basketball athletes, it's important that I also, and that's what I commend you about too, is I see all the stuff that you do on the court too. And I'm like, I got to get back to that. So I haven't really had access to a court. Now I do. So there's no excuse, but then I can also, there's a win-win. One, I stay in shape. Two, I can build more buy-in by, developing my own skills too. And then 3, I can use it as a avenue to help my athletes understand X, Y, and Z. And if they see me doing it, it connects. We're mostly visual learners. So I like creating that visual for people. And then, I stay in shape. So
yeah, no, for real. Like it's been great, honestly, because like you said, just having some skin in the game, I think goes such a long way with your athletes and getting the buy-in from them, especially when it comes to a sport skill or just any, sport specific training model. Like for me, like I love to stay in shape, but it's been really good for me to kind of feel some of these things on myself. My like I'm 33, I'm older than all my athletes that I work with for the most part. And so like I can feel how it feels on me and kind of with the program that I'm doing in the weight room and on the court. And I can say, okay, 24-year-old rookie, they're probably going to like this, or, this is too much because it just killed my legs and I don't know if I can handle. So it's been great to gauge, kind of experiment on yourself to see how it can then impact your athletes.
For sure. Everything has to blend and it has to make sense. So if I kill my athlete in the weight room, I kill them on the court, metaphorically. So, or actually physically. So that's like something that I've learned. It's like everything that I need to do. Yes. During different periods of their, for example, off season, it's okay for them to be a little bit sore. It's okay for them to, not be hurting, but like, okay, yeah, my glutes are a little bit sore today, et cetera. But like, as we get into, different times where they have to peak or like in season, a really important AAU tournament, et cetera, it's like, that volume is going to go way down and it should just prepare. Like they should feel good on the court, not worse. So there's like different periods where you can add a little bit more volume to that. But I totally agree. Like, when I go through, a lot of my workouts are me going through my athletes' workouts or going through the moves that I'm going to give them because, like you said, if you feel something, it's like they're probably going to feel that too. Yep. And so it's important, like, and then also context, like, do they have a game after or before, or do they have a practice, communicating with them. So there's a lot that goes into the actual programming of it, but the feel aspect from from a trainer is super important. Like you're going to get more buy-in, but then you're going to get more understanding of just like what they're going through day to day. And it's a beat down. It's a grind. for everything that they have to do to quote unquote make it.
Right. Yeah. It's getting increasingly more ridiculous. Like as the years go on, it's like,
Oh my God,
man,
it's
just
awful.
what's expected of these athletes sometimes I think is just wild,
Too
yeah.
many voices and opinions, and too many egos. And it's not just, unfortunately, our industry is not just about training anymore. And with basketball, it's not just about basketball anymore.
Yeah. It's about
As we
that
can
money.
see with everything going on, oh my God, it's a business, it's money, it's everyone's opinions. Everyone wants the next best story. Everyone just wants to, hate on other people. Everyone's too cutthroat and competitive about it. But if we think about it, we're all in it for literally the sole purpose is the development of the athlete and
Right.
to maximize their physical, mental, emotional, intellectual, spiritual potential. But like the egos get in the way, the money gets in the way, the business gets in the way.
Yeah.
So it's just sad. But you just try to do what you can do and just, and deal with the things that you got to deal with, but just try to be a positive impact.
For sure. So, in your new space, are you going to make any changes in terms of like programming, structure, how you model your templates or anything like that now that you have a little bit more tools to work with?
Yeah, so I'm all for like fancy equipment. Like they have a Vertimax now that I'm super pumped about. Like I
Yeah.
like I'm investing in a like velocity based tracker and things like that. So but again, those things cost money. So I've been able to adapt without like the fancier equipment. But I think having access now that I'm at a point where I can have access to maybe a little bit more the technology and the equipment that can maybe help my athlete, build that 1% edge a little bit more, I'm excited about. So that's why this move is great for me, because there's just more potential for opportunity business wise, but also, like everything that I'll have access to. So in terms of that, yes. And then also just having the access like immediately to the court. It's like we could go through a move and then get a couple reps on the court with like, this is the quality that this is helping. Like some overspeed training stuff. I really like overspeed band resistance stuff. So that's like a perfect opportunity to blend, weight room skill into on-court skill. Things like that. Also for, a lot of my guys and some girls, they want to be able to jump really high. A lot of my guys want to be able to dunk. Girls want to be able to dunk at some point too. So it's like,
Yeah.
now I can, one of the best ways is to actually do the thing, so to get better at the thing, you got to do the thing. So now I have access to the court. So let's lower the rim. Let's do some low rim dunking. Like that's, a great way to build it. Let's get some, especially in season, what should my plyos be? I can't really do a whole lot of extensive plyos, but I can do intensive plyos. And like, I'm trying to get 100% maximal effort. So then you add that motivational aspect of like, hey, go touch the rim, or hey, let's get like 5 to 10 maximal dunks, no fatigue. And like, that's their plyometric session. So I'm super pumped about that because that's like one of the, actually doing the thing is the best way to build maximum explosiveness. And then you use the weight room stuff to just support that skill. So I am excited about that, to blend those two together. And then also like conditioning purposes, I'm excited to finally have like curve sprint variations
Yeah.
or different, like, hey, instead our conditioning is going to be, I guess, more, basketball specific. I guess you can add that kind of stuff too. So it makes sense. And then, like I said, the sprinting around the 3-point line, sprinting around the circle at half court, like you can utilize the court for various aspects. And then more distance. I have more
Yeah.
distance for more like sled work and extensive plyometrics and stuff. So I would say it will change a little bit, I guess, in terms of like the creativity, but also it's also simplifying a lot of things too, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. You get to access all of that, and it's like the same realm. Like it's all basketball. So you don't have to pretend to be basketball in just a turf area. Like you can actually go out on the court and get the work in. Like
Yeah.
it's going to make a huge difference. Like I've noticed over the last year or so, just having access to a court, there's nothing like it. Like you said, the overspeed stuff, I love that. The contrast stuff between like
Yes.
skill and unloaded movement. Love
Mm-hmm.
that. Like you'll notice like a lot of the stuff that you can do with that is like it's gonna make you mad because you're like, damn, I wish I would have had this as a player. Like I would be so much
Oh
better.
my gosh,
And
I
so,
know.
but you're gonna be like, wow, there's endless possibilities because the game is so free. Like you can pretty much load anything. You can pretty much time any type of movement or put some type of like metric behind any movement, and you can make these things training KPIs. Like, you know, for us, like, we do a lot of that type of stuff where the actual sport movement will try to find a way to track it, whether it's like 1080 sprint, velocity, or even just timing it like on coach's eye or on form or something like that. And
Yep,
like that's a data point like a 1RM trap bar deadlift would be
for
traditionally.
sure,
So it's
for
like
sure.
I talked about it on the last episode, but people want that faster first step. And so now you can actually like measure that and be like,
Yeah,
yeah, you got a faster first step. Congratulations. Like go use it in the
right.
game.
Exactly. I know. Yeah. So all the work you're doing, actually put it into the game. So
Yep.
I totally agree with that. I am excited about that. I hope I at some point get access to that type of equipment because I think it makes a huge difference. And like you said, just the creativity that you can have on the court in terms of I think Kyrie Irving said it. He was like, basketball is lines, but it's like we're constantly playing outside the lines and we're constantly trying to push boundaries.
Yeah.
So it's like we have this court, but that's why it's just artwork to me. Like it's, I say it's like arts and crafts, honestly, because it's like you can create how you want to create, how it makes sense to you. And if it works, if you get your athletes results, it's like, why, no one else can hate on that.
Right. Yeah.
So
No, that's
it
all
is
that
what it
matters.
is.
That's
I
all
know.
that
So
matters.
I love
Results.
that. I've been seeing that with you and stuff, and I also steal from other people, so we steal from each other.
Oh yeah.
So I love everything that you're doing as well when it comes to that kind of stuff, and the skills training. Like you're a one-stop shop, and that's what I'm trying to be as well. I'm not going to be an expert in basketball skills training because all my energy goes into performance training, but I can be a generalist.
Mm-hmm.
And it can make enough sense, and then you send them to the actual experts when it comes to specifics.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
No, that's beautiful. I think it's gonna be dope. I'm excited to see it. So let's talk about something you mentioned earlier is just the industry, right? There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
toxicity. There's a lot of ego. There's a lot of just muddiness and fog. But there's also a lot of really amazing people and there's a lot of amazing things
Yes.
too. One of the biggest challenges that I think that you've had to deal with, like not speaking for you, but I can probably guess, is that you are a woman in
Mm-hmm.
a male dominated industry.
Yep.
So, talk a little bit about your experience there and just how you've been able to navigate that so successfully.
Yeah, so like I said in the beginning, I worked with a lot of females. It was easier for me to get female clients because, hey, I'm a female, and this female athlete can probably relate to me more than a male athlete, or they're more comfortable. So I worked with a lot of female athletes. And that was kind of how I started my business. And that's why I opened up my gym, is because I started high school coaching. So I
Hmm.
had for a girls varsity basketball team at my old high school. So I just used that connect. Wasn't getting paid for the high school coaching. I wasn't really getting paid to train these athletes, but I was able to get my foot into the door. And so, that's how I was able to build my clientele, to be like, all right, I have enough clientele to open up my gym. I wanted to work with male athletes, but it was hard. You see a female athlete and you automatically have your, biases and things like that, and judgments that you make just based off of, gender, unfortunately. And then I'm also part of the LGBTQ community. So it's like, then you make your own judgments on that. So it's been very, very difficult. I've had, people not want to work with me because I'm a female, because male egos get in the way, or like, what does she know? Like things like that. I've had people not work with me because, I am part of that community, the LGBTQ community. I've had hate on social media from it. Like it's been very difficult. And I think it's been more mentally. and emotionally for me. And it, as a female, I have to work twice as hard, and I also, 10 times as hard, and, experience 10 times as much hate. That doesn't take away from everyone else's journeys. It just is what it is. And it's a conversation that, like, is really hard to have. But if I can be, if I can go through this and provide another female an opportunity, or just like, motivation to keep going, then, I've done my job. So I would say it's been very difficult. I'm starting to see now, like, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the people that, the females that did bet on me. But also the males. I started with like one male client, and then it became two, and then et cetera. And now I'm actually training more male clients. And I used to be the person, man, just even a year ago, I would be DMing people, like hundreds of DMs, to like, hey, just come in for a free workout. Like, my time is valuable, but, like, I need clients. I want to grow. So it's like, I've had to do that. And, I had a couple people that bet on me, and, I was able to get them results. And now, I'm still, I still am not anywhere. Like I said, I'm just scratching the surface, but I now have people dads reaching out to me. And, I'm 26, like, I'm young. So it's like, I have dads reaching out to me to work with their son, or teams reaching out to me to work with an all boys team. And that wasn't the case. It's just because I've outlasted people, and I've been able, to just try my best to use all the quote unquote hate, or people that didn't believe in me, as motivation. And when I do make it, when I do continue to grow and get to the level that I want, I'll just be like, I told you so, I guess. So
talk your shit. Let's go.
I mean, it has to be like it's not my biggest well that I pull from, but 100%, like, we talked about it before, but, like, it's super important to talk about, like, all this stuff that I did go through. Like, those original female clients that I had from the team that I trained, they all left when I came out. And I had that happen, a lot of different reasons, but a lot of it was ego and politics within. It's everywhere. So, I dealt with that, and then I had to adapt and pivot. And so, like I said, just last year, I was major struggling, like rock bottom. And so, but it only takes one person. And that's what I try to tell people, is like, you literally just need one person. So I've met, a couple people that have really elevated me and connected me with other people. And then those people have connects of their own. But it takes one person. So it's like, I had that one guy come in, guys see that I'm training a guy, they're more likely to come in. But yeah, people made their judgments. They're like, oh, I didn't know you work with males. Or, oh, yeah, like, I'm not going to listen to a female. I'm not going to listen to a gay female. Go back in the kitchen, go back in the kitchen. Like, that's literally, I deal with that still today. Like, I literally woke up this morning, and I'm trying to get more of the post and ghost type, where you just post and then you don't look at it again. But yeah, I just had a couple of days ago, I woke up and it was like, go back in the kitchen, or just making judgments about me, about, like, I posted like a hip dissociation, and it's still, like, blowing up, I guess. And people are like, why is she twerking? Or, like, go back in the kitchen, or I'm not going to listen to a female, or, all this stuff. Like, it's constant. So it's like, that's why we talk about the burnout rate of strength and conditioning coaches is crazy. And I'm independent. Like, I have to hustle for my clients. And that's what makes it hard. Like, I don't know anyone that is a female entrepreneur, independent trainer, owning her own business. Like, I don't have any other trainers. I don't have a boss. I don't have it. Like, I am the boss. Like, I'm the one that hustles. And so, yeah, you can go the team route, and you deal with your stuff there as well. Like, a female is going to deal with very similar things. But, my path is incredibly difficult. Again, not to take away to anyone that works at the strength conditioning or professional level, because you got to deal with a lot of stuff too. It's just not the avenue that I wanted to take. So it's like, I deal with my own set of challenges. And then you add the female aspect to it. But I'm getting there. Like I said, I'm still kicking. So
yeah, no, it's crazy. It's like, it's really unfortunate that you even have to deal with some of that stuff. But the way that you handle it is obviously, is as good as you can. Like you said, you keep adapting. You continue to focus on your vision, your goal, and not allow the hate or the doubt or anything to weigh you down. You know what I mean? You accept it for what it is and use it however you can. But for
Mm-hmm.
the most part, it's crazy that a lot, like, personally, and I'll speak for myself and probably most men in this industry, is like, I think I have a good idea, but that's probably 20% of what you guys actually have to go through. And that's me being like overly trying to gain perspective, and but you'll never as a man still understand like some of the challenges that women in the industry are having to go through. Like, it's just
Right. Yeah.
you
No,
you
like
can only imagine.
exactly. And like I said, I definitely want to reiterate, it doesn't take away from everyone, from a male's challenges or anyone growing up in, not a great environment, like stuff like that. Like I understand everyone has their challenges. It's all part of it. Like I think everyone is going to hit rock bottom at some point, maybe multiple times. It doesn't take away from that. But my challenges, again, it's my experience. It's what I've gone through. And my challenges are unique in the fact that of my gender.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a little bit different, and it's another added thing that I have to deal with. But like I said, if I can be an inspiration to just one other female, I've or provide that opportunity or show. I mean, that's how you make change, is that you
Right.
do things, that you break barriers and you do things that are outside the status quo. So even just performance training itself, like 10 years ago, was outside the status quo. Like for me to be a, like, male or female, for me to be a performance trainer and that's all I do, and that's how I make my living, 10 years ago, like that never happened. Like that's
Right.
crazy. So it's like now it's like that, and then you add on the female aspect. It's like, um, you know, it's amazing.
It's
I mean,
dope.
I got to look at it like that, that I'm 26. I've had, most businesses don't last past 3 years. I've had my business for 3 years. I'm very, very hard on myself. And like I said, the challenges that I've been through, you can't really, again, explain it in terms of what I actually went through, like all the nights I wanted to give up, or all the nights that, I cried myself to sleep, like, or all the times where I was sitting at home just like anxious as hell because, I didn't have a lot of clients that day, or like, how am I going to pay for X, Y, and Z, like all that kind of stuff. So, um, but yeah, so it's been a grind, but like I said, I feel like I'm starting to see the light, but again, that's from an 8-year journey.
Right.
And that's, anytime you look at someone, it's like anyone that I look up to, it's like they have a 10-year journey. You have a 10-year journey behind you. Like anyone that I look up to, it's like it takes a while. So, male or female, if I think I'm going to be working with Steph Curry and make millions of dollars and get all these sponsorship deals that we see, or paid partnerships or things like that, like, I'm in the wrong industry. So it's hard to stay patient about it. And that's something that I'm working on, is, being patient, and then understanding, like, what my relationship with value means. And that's, something that I'm navigating, male or female. We all have to do it.
For sure. No, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's important. Like, you have to hear other people's perspectives. Like, you can never assume that how it is for somebody else, whether
Mm-hmm.
good or bad. You have
Right.
to listen to people, and you have to gain their knowledge and their perspective, because that's how you learn. Because if you just assume that everybody has it the same way as you, or you go through the same challenges or whatever, then you're not living in a reality. You're kind of
Right.
boxed in your own little black hole. But there's people like you and numerous other coaches that have all these unique challenges and all these unique things that they have to do just to find the same success, whether or not it's more or less work than the next person. It's like, it's just cool to hear everybody's insight and learn from that. Most of all, like, you don't
Right.
that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people don't have to, like, you don't have to have a rebuttal for everything. Like, it's
Yeah,
like you can
exactly.
listen to somebody's perspective and just be like, oh, okay, I learned from
Right.
that.
Like you don't need to have a
Thank you
defense
for
to it,
sharing that.
or
Yeah, you don't have
right.
to be like always on the defense. So that's kind of like one thing that, like, I'm a big WNBA fan, and right now Kelsey Plum is going viral because she said that they don't want to be paid equally to the men. They just want the same revenue share process. And I'm like, great, that
Exactly.
makes sense. But you look at the comments and you're just like, God,
I
you
know.
guys are
It's
missing the
awful.
point. Like, what are we doing here? But
It's
anyway, I don't even want to
awful.
go down that rabbit hole because then we'll be on for the next 2 hours, and I will really get hot on here for sure.
Yes. No, I agree with you. It's such a challenge for sure. I totally agree. But it's like those conversations. I commend her for having those because she's going to take
Yep.
her heat. I take my heat. You take your heat. We all take our heat. But there'll be another conversation. It'll be all recycled. There'll be a new topic.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's like, it is what it is. And that's what I try to think of is like just learning to like let those things go and just know that, they're hurting in some way. So I try to have a little empathy for them because we don't know what that person is going through. And if a lot of people take their hate out on other people.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. People are entitled. They have their opinion. And then coaches, on the other hand, it's a lot of like, we think that like everyone can eat, everyone
Yeah.
can eat. There's no scarcity. We're all in it for the same goal. So like, why don't we just try to help each other out instead of like, because the problem is with like when we talked about the coaches side, it's like I went back to it's that relationship with what value means. It's like everyone wants money. And so when, people leave or, a business isn't doing well, their way of coping is by hating on other people because financially they could be struggling or
Mm.
emotionally they could be struggling. So it's like, I'm working on, in the process of, and this is advice to business owners. I know it was one of your points that we wanted to talk about was like, you like reframing what your relationship with value means. And I posted something the other day and I wanted to bring it up. I know it's not training, but it's like, I'm learning for me, the relationship with like money. And that's something that I've been struggling with. And I'm okay to admit that because I'm sure someone else is, but I have a struggle with money and my relationship with money. I think it's that I'm going to lose it like this. And it's a motivation, but it also can be, again, paralysis by analysis. So, it was a video that I posted on my story and it was like, well, if you had $1 million today, but you die tomorrow, like, do you value money more? And it's like,
Right.
no, you would value your life. And then it's like, do you have, I can give you $1 million or you get really sick and you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Well, no, you value your health, right? You're going to choose your health. And then, $1 million or your parents die. It's like, you wouldn't choose that cash, you would choose relationships. So that whole perspective, like it gives me chills to think about because I just valued money as the top. Like that is my success. Like how much money I have is a determinant of my success, or how many people I have in the gym is a determinant of my success, or who I'm working with is a determinant of my success. But no, it's I'm living, I'm healthy,
Yeah.
and I'm building relationships, and I have quality relationships with people. So that is definitely something, I can like the business plan and the financial plan, it doesn't always work. So it's like business advice is like, you'll figure it out. Like everything, you got to be able to adapt and pivot, but you also have to have a solid relationship with money and with what you actually value and your values. So when you look at it from that perspective, I was like, damn, all right. So
That was deep.
it's
Yeah.
helping. Yeah. And then constantly just reminding yourself of that for sure.
We should like co-author a book. It was like 100 chapters, and every chapter is just figure it out. Chapter 2, figure it out. Chapter 3, figure it out. Like all these different
That's
things. It'd
it.
be like 200
That's it.
pages. Charge $1.99 for it. We probably sell 1,000,000 copies.
Without like with every single category of strength conditioning and performance training and social media, etc., like all the buckets within fitness, it's literally like another mistake that I made within business. Like, I mean, don't pay for a business coach. I have made that mistake before. I was super young, Jess, but he promised me so much. He promised me X, Y, Z. He was really good at convincing. And like, I paid so much money for him and he did nothing. And I was like, man, I mean, if I
Yep.
look at it,
Maybe
maybe it was just
scamming.
part of my journey, but like there's so much free information out there. So it's like, just like you can learn it on your own. It's even when people ask me, like when they comment, they're like, oh, what machine is that? Or what equipment is that? Or like, what does this mean? It's like, you can literally look it up on Google, like do your research and things like that. So everything that I've learned, I invest my money into, people that I trust and things that they offer, and that offers a lot of benefit. But like the whole like business coaching, or if people can promise you certain things, like it's just not going to happen because there's so many. When I purchased that business coach, my gym was literally falling apart because everyone was leaving. Well,
Right.
what is the business coach going to do? Like,
Right.
he can't help with that because he doesn't know what's going on. So that's kind of an off-site tangent of that. But like, you can figure out a lot of information on like for free. There's a lot of great information out there. There's a lot of bad information, but you know, the whole thing is like, you will figure it out, and use the free resources that you have first before investing in someone else, and just believe in yourself. Like, believe that like you can do it too. Like, we all need people. Like, you can't do it alone. But like, you gotta at first like have a foundation of believing in yourself.
100%. Let's talk training a little bit. So, like, I
Absolutely.
love the way you train. I love like your philosophies and just your content in general. Like, it's easy to consume and it makes sense and it's not stupid. Like most of the stuff on the internet is like, it's like, oh yeah, that's usable. So, what are some of your like just key principles and methods that you love to use? I know that's a very general question, but I'll let you dive in on this.
Yeah, I mean, first, like, I use the metaphor about, you know, like looking at a pyramid. So, in order to build the highest and widest pyramid, well, I have to have a wide and deep foundation, right? So, and that goes not just to like foundation in terms of physical, but we got to look at foundation of like nutrition. We got to
Mm-hmm.
look at foundation of like sleep and recovery. We have to look at foundation of like psychological, like all that stuff, intellectual, emotional, mental resilience, like all that. So like that's included within the foundation. Like if you don't have a solid foundation, you're going to have a really narrow and short pyramid, and a weak pyramid. So that's how I explain it to people. So when people first come in, within the first couple weeks, maybe even a couple months, it just depends, you know, like we're building the foundation. Like it's not going to be super exciting. It's not going to be, you know, what you see on Instagram or on social media. You know, if you see an athlete before training this way, well, he got there or she got there because he or she did exactly what we're doing now. So that's a conversation that I have to have with my athlete, like as soon as they walk in, is that, you know, like we're in a culture where we want things now and we want things instantly and we're not patient about it. But I have to explain to them, like, you know, we're going to be doing stuff like body weight stuff. Like, can you even
Mm-hmm.
handle your body weight? Like relative strength, like basketball, you're literally just using leverage within your body weight. So it's like, we're going
Yep.
to do a lot of stuff with just your body weight. Can you handle that? Can you hold positions? Positional strength, positional confidence, you know, owning your shapes, owning your specific angles. And that can be within strength wise, that can be tissue tolerance, that can be, you know, mobility, stability, all that kind of stuff. So that falls in the category. But if I don't build that foundation, it's like a Jenga puzzle. Like at some point, you're going to tip over, whether that's injury, whether that's burnout, whether that's X, Y, or Z. So that's kind of how I start with all my athletes. You know, make sure that they're moving well. The best basketball athletes are the best movers. And then, like I said, adding in other stuff that they're not experiencing on the court. I think that's important. So I don't make things too basketball specific. I do include other things that are non-basketball specific, like that I pull from track and field, that I pull from soccer, that I pull from, you know, boxing, that I pull from, you know, other, I guess, disciplines, and other sports to build like a general athlete first. And that's what we talked about. I think that's what's missing. Is that, you know, we start specializing like in sixth grade at this point, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we don't get that. So my job is to also like provide other ways to develop like the athlete as a whole. And so that holistic approach. I'm about also like, I do like to isolate before I integrate in a way, but like, you know, like I got to make sure that I have enough hip internal, external rotation, tibial rotation, you know, upper back, thoracic mobility. So in a way that's isolation. And then I have to transfer it into integration. So I do more integration than I do isolate, but I feel like, I feel like we get like too stuck on one thing and one quality, but there's so many different qualities that we have to be able to be good at. Like, I just posted something today, for example, like, yes, deceleration, we have to be able to decelerate. And then also on the other hand itself, we have to be able to accelerate. So it's like we can isolate those two qualities, but at some point we also need to integrate those qualities. Like,
Mm-hmm.
can you decelerate to accelerate? So it's the same thing. Can I take my hip mobility, my isolation of my hip mobility, and now can I move fluidly, you know, within extensive plyometrics or, different type of creative ladder drills, like that kind of stuff. And then can I add the reactivity component to it? So it's like, there's so many things from just like one simple thing. And so that's kind of the approach that I take. And so, my warm-ups, that we can just go like how I program, I guess, but warm-ups, they're creative. That's kind of where I can include that isolation stuff. Get the body prepared for whatever that theme is for the day. And that's how I operate. I operate by themes, or specific goals that the athlete wants to work on. I meet them halfway. So it's like, if they don't enjoy what they're doing, like they're not going to get results.
Right.
So if they really want to work on vertical jump, then that's going to be the biggest part of my program, because one, they're paying or their parents are paying. And so it's like, I got to meet them halfway, and then I just sneak in other things. And then, so warm up is just creative, whatever, mobility limitations that they have, whatever I want to include that prepares them for the theme. I love extensive plyometrics. So that's when I'll include, depending on where they are in off season, in season, et cetera. I'll include a lot of, that's where I'll get the other doses of, things that they don't get within their sport. And then whatever that main part of that day is, whether it's vertical jump, deceleration, acceleration, change of direction, that kind of stuff. And then, so like, that's already like a half hour, if not more, without even picking up a weight, which I think is really important. And then the other half is like, that's where I'll get my strength in. That's where I'll get my single leg strength in. That's where I'll get my frontal plane work. That's where I'll get my core work, my upper body. And that's where I try to integrate a bunch of different qualities together into one, because their time is valuable. Their energy is finite. Like, they don't have a ton of energy. So it's like, if I'm doing, for example, an upper body exercise, well, I'm going to include a little core rotation in there. So we killed two birds with one stone, et cetera. And so that's kind of where I use that integration piece. But again, it depends on the athlete. But that's typically how I would program.
No, I like that. So, question on your programming: are you writing things out or planning in some fashion, whether you use a notebook or a software, like weeks, months, years in advance, or are you kind of just, hey, I have my system, I know what works, let's see how the athlete is that day based on all the factors in their life, and then pull from that system to then give them that day's program?
Yeah. So this is such a great question, because this is something that I do struggle with as well. So I don't know the right answer. I'm going to be honest with my answer. I do not plan out months in ahead. I plan out the week. And then I always have another session that I plan in case that athlete comes in and like they feel awful, or they're super tired, or they don't want to be there, or they're having like problems at school, like et cetera, X, Y, and Z. So it's like I always have a plan A, but I have a plan B. It's so difficult, especially I feel like at the pro level, you can maybe plan out months in ahead,
right?
Because basketball is their job. That's all they're doing. But with high school, it's so difficult because you have so many other factors. So I can plan a month in ahead, but then you have a coach that's just running your athletes into the ground, or they're practicing 7 days a week, or they just had a really bad game the night before, or they never even played. So it's like my recovery session may not be, you know what I mean?
Right,
so it's like, there's so many factors. So I would love to hear your opinion on that. But like right now, no, I don't plan out like weeks in advance or months. I have like, okay, this is what we're going to be working on. Like, and then this is when I'm going to switch it and add different things. So I will have my phases. But like things change on a dime for people all the time. Like, this is the best example. So I have a collegiate athlete. He's, we were preparing for him to play this season. So it's like, I was getting him ready for in season. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'm going to redshirt this year. I'm just going to train. And so, okay, now it adjusts. So my phase, and all the time that I put into knowing that he was going to go to in season, but now he's off season, like my plans change. So yeah, I mean, what do you do? Because this is actually a great question. I have no idea, because I just go honestly week by week, to be honest.
I've been all over the place. Like I've been at certain points in my career, I've made it up like that day. Certain points in my career, I've planned out like a year in advance. And I've found that like neither of them worked that well for me. It was like always that middle, kind of the middle of the continuum. Like you said, you got to kind of like, obviously you have a plan, a structure, a system in place, but then life also happens and you have to
Exactly.
adjust to that. So what I do like for off season specifically is like I have a plan that's built out that's 3 months and it's multiple phases, and I use what I call my stoplight system. It's red, yellow, green, and so
Yes.
phase one is automatically red. Phase two is automatically yellow. Phase three is automatically green. But
Mm-hmm.
if there's an athlete, let's say, that's been training their off season for 3 months now, and they're supposed to be on that green program, but they come in and they're tired or they're banged up or they're just not feeling it that day, then I can bump them down to yellow or red based on that. And it's all the same, like, movement qualities or theme of the day, but it's just
Yes.
that previous level. So
Yeah.
they've actually already done that workout before because they already went through the phase. Or I can just freestyle and be like, you don't got it today, and come up with some
Right.
stuff. But like,
So it's like I always have a regression,
yep,
the actual exercise, a regression and progression, and then you just adjust the volume and the set. So that's why
yep,
it's like you got to be able to communicate with your athlete. So yeah, I actually love that system. That's a great system. And it also depends on, are you working with a big group of people or are you
right,
working with an individual? Because that's going to
yeah,
change. So
yep,
yeah, right now I'm the week by week, but that's why I love theming it. And then within that theme, I love that, red, yellow, green.
yep,
Because then you like a quick, like, hey, 1 out of 10, how are you feeling? 10, like you're feeling on top of the world, you're great, you're ready to work. One, I'm feeling awful, I'm tired, I'm sore, etc. And then you just adjust your program from there. So, and that's just, it takes practice, it takes a lot of time, I think, for coaches. Like, oh my god, it takes me sometimes hours to program for all my
yeah,
athletes because
same,
like I get so in my head about like what I'm supposed to do. And so I totally get that. And that's definitely something for trainers that are listening. Like, it's going to take years for you to figure out like what works in your system. But
mm-hmm.
that's where you can learn from other people. Like, that's where I do invest in other people's, like I have a little, like when we first started following each other, I actually have, I don't know if you know this, but I have a little folder that has your name that has all the saved stuff of like some
Really,
of the moves. Yeah. So that's
that's
what I do.
dope.
I go on Instagram and I have different folders of like different trainers that I respect. And like, that's where like you took all that time to like learn, whatever exercise or whatever, philosophy that you have, but I can learn it in like 5 minutes. Right. And
Yeah,
so that's what we
thanks.
do.
Yep,
Anyone that we look up, it's like, why don't we just take other people's, like all their knowledge? They're giving it out for free for a reason.
mm-hmm.
It does come back to them in a good way because I now have respect for them. I'm more likely to invest in their stuff. So I take that same approach. And that's why I give out free game all the time, is because like, one, it helps me learn. Two, it's going to help another coach save hours that I spent trying to learn this. And
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. So yeah, no, I have a little folder for you. So that same thing. And then I invest in like Corey Schlesinger. He just came out with a
yep,
microdosing program. Years and years of all this stuff. Like I can buy that and I can learn it in a couple days. And then I
mm-hmm.
can apply that. So that's how I learn programming. And that's where it's like social media can be a good thing. So anyone you respect, save all of their stuff, listen to all of their podcasts, create a little folder, take notes on them, practice it yourself. And then that's how you get better at programming. And then you just try something with an athlete. I've been there before. I've tried something with an athlete and I'm like, nope, we're not going to do that today. We're going to
Yeah,
switch
yep,
it up.
yep,
So that's normal. And then you just make it seem like, hey, I'm going to give this to you instead. Like instead of doing this, let's do this. And then
yep.
they don't even know. So it's like we said, I made a lot of mistakes with programming, but I love that philosophy that you have. So that's actually a great philosophy that I think everyone should take. Pick a theme, red, yellow, green.
Red, yellow, green. Yep,
And then once you get better, you build your own philosophy based on all the other philosophies that you've learned over the years.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I like having that long term plan in place, but the amount of times that it's been done 100% like adherence is zero. You know what I mean? There's
Right.
always going to be changes. There's always going to be some type of variable that has to change. So you got to be able to fluctuate with that and just make it happen. So, in terms of, you mentioned social media, I did not know like that was a thing. Like I know you could save stuff, but I didn't know that you could do it in such an organized way like you do it.
Oh
So
yeah.
let's talk
Yeah.
about. Yeah, like I think your social media is great, and I've been following you for probably a couple years now, and I've seen your stuff explode. Like it's been, I mean, I don't know how many followers you had when I first started following you, but you got to be up close to 50K now, and it's
I'm at
like,
like almost close to 70.
oh my god, it's like that's so cool. Like for me, like I've seen it every step of the way, and so are you doing anything like? Are you trying to do that, or are you just like, yo, like this is I just
No,
like posting? Or
no, definitely not. Hopefully you can cut this part out, but I have to drive, but I still got like 15 minutes. But just
you're
so you
good.
know, just a heads up. So with the social media growth, literally just luck. I don't even consistency and luck. Those are the two words that I can put together because I don't follow any algorithms. I just post and I just post. I tell people I post what I wish I would have known. Back in the day, or wish I would have known, a couple years ago or a couple months ago. That helps me. And then selfishly, it's a way for me to learn what I want to do and things like that. So, if I learn how to communicate by posting, and it's literally just about consistency. I posted every day for the past 3 to 4 years, and like I said, a lot of the ones that go viral are actually the hate comments that I get, but like it's pushing it up. So that's what's just like really funny. But yeah, it's just luck. Like I think a couple of them went viral, especially ones that I didn't think that would go viral. And I think Reels changed some things for me. But yeah, I would say there's really no secret to it.
That's awesome. No, I love to see it. I love to see it. You've been grinding, and I love it. So I know you're short on time, and we've made it through this like really smooth, which I'm super hype about.
Yes.
So I don't want you to get into a car accident. So I'm gonna put you on the hot seat real quick, and we're just gonna go through these rapid fire questions, and then I'll have you on your way. Is that cool?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. So, and these can be just quick answers. Like you don't have to go super in depth. What is your most commonly used emoji?
Oh my God. So right now I'm doing the little where you make the heart with your hands. I'm doing that one
Yeah,
or the handshake. Those are my two.
yeah, I like that. Um, if you, what is one food that you'll never share with anyone?
Oh, one food I'll never share with everyone. My girlfriend's with me right now. Do you have
Oh man,
what food won't I share with anyone? I don't know. I don't actually. Yeah, she just said I don't share my food at all. So I'm gonna go with that answer. I don't
all of
share.
it.
I have a sharing problem.
Simple yes or no question. Do you believe in aliens?
Oh, um, I'm gonna go with no,
Oh, okay.
and then I plead the fifth.
If you if you were not a trainer, what would you be doing for a living?
If I wasn't a trainer, oh man, I suck at this. I don't know. I don't see myself doing anything else. I guess within like basketball, like still fitness, like basketball coaching. I don't really have anything that I would want to do outside of that.
I got you. All right, since you don't share your food, I know you got a guilty pleasure fast food order. Like, what's like that embarrassing fast food order that you probably shouldn't tell us, but you're gonna tell us anyway?
I don't actually eat fast food, surprisingly. Like, seriously, I actually don't. I usually get Cava, Chipotle, and Chick-fil-A. So that's literally it. But I love sweets. So I honestly, like, I will take, my girlfriend had to get marshmallow fluff for some dessert she was making for Thanksgiving. So I'll just take spoonfuls and eat that.
Oh, oh, that's nasty. um, what is
Yeah.
what is one celebrity that you just can't stand?
One celebrity, Kanye West, man.
Oh, I had a feeling that was coming. I
Yup,
had a
I
feeling that was
cannot
coming.
stand him. Yeah.
I feel bad because I got the shoe backdrop right now, some Yeezy boxes, but they're Adidas now, so it's all good.
Yeah, right.
Last one here. Do you have any secret hidden talents?
secret hidden talent? No, I'm not really. I literally all I do is my job and play basketball. That's it. I really don't have any talents. I wish. I feel
Hey,
like
well,
my
that's
life would be
good. That's good
easier.
enough. I mean, you're good at what you're good at. We can say that.
Right, exactly.
Awesome. Well, that's all I got for you. If you want to give the audience kind of a breakdown where they can find you, where you're most accessible, let us know.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Coach JR Performance. That's where I post a lot of my stuff. It's the same handle for TikTok, but I don't really post often on that. And then just be on the lookout. Just came out with a change of direction dominance program, and then within the next couple weeks, coming out with a speed and deceleration program. So I'm excited about that. And we'll have like the online options, which I think is great for trainers to learn how I program, but then also for athletes to be able to train if they don't have access to be able to, afford a high quality trainer, or the trainer they want to work with is not in a feasible location. So those are the two. And like I said, I try to answer, all comments, all messages when I can, and just try to give back to people and be that positive impact and role model. And then I give out so much free game. So that's where you can find me.
So much free game. So much
Daily.
free game. Well, I appreciate you jumping on here with me. I'm glad we got round 2 figured out.
Yes.
We will get this posted ASAP. And again, I
Awesome.
appreciate you jumping on with me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. So that was episode 6 with Jessica Racz. I'm super excited for how that episode turned out. I love her. I love talking with her. She's an amazing coach and human. You guys should definitely give her a follow. I will link up all the things that we talked about in the show notes at gymsessionspodcast.com. So, one more thing I want you guys to do, if it's not too much trouble, please leave this a review, leave it a rating, leave it some feedback on whatever platform you're listening to. We would really appreciate that. It helps the show grow, and it helps us be able to position ourselves on the platforms at a higher level so it's more visible to listeners like yourself. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 6. As always, today's show is sponsored by Hoist Elite Hydration Beverage, one of my favorite products on the market in the terms of sports performance. It's IV level hydration. It's going to get you instant and optimal hydration. Comes in 6 amazing flavors. The electrolyte profile is awesome. If you want to learn more about Hoist, you can go to drinkhoist.com. If you like what you see, use PACE, PACE. My promo code is going to get you 10% off all of your purchases. I promise you, you will not be let down by this product. So again, thank you guys for tuning in to episode 6 of the Gym Sessions podcast. Like it, share it, review it, and thank you so much. I'll see you guys next week.